today's topic is recent trends in homeopathic research. Sir, I hope others can mute their microphone.
Yes, ma'am, others are muted. You
Okay.
can continue.
Yeah, myself is Dr. Chandraja, research officer working in Sharda Krishna Homeopathic Medical College. And today's topic is homeopathic research, that is recent trends in homeopathic research. So why I have selected this topic is in COVID situation, uh, this forum has taken a great initiative to promote homeopathy among not only youngsters but also the senior people who were the pillars of there is pillars of strength and hope in homeopathy. They are the pioneers. They're all there to support homeopathy, and this particular session, I think I can justify telling that there is a lot of homeopathic research carried out, and I'm discussing only the projects or papers published after 2020, that is after COVID. So I think I have taken maximum initiative to include only those papers and tell you that even the homeopathic fraternity is taking a lot of steps to come up even in this situation. So in among all the research, clinical research is the topmost because it is the main objective of human life, health. Health, as you all know, better health, better life. So clinical research is actually a key to better health. So coming to homeopathy, this is a very common thing which we hear always. So homeopathy remains one of the most extensively used complementary and alternative medicine all over the globe. And 200 million people are getting benefits out of homeopathy. But still, the skeptics say that homeopathic research is non-scientific, and there's no scientific evidence in homeopathic medicine, action of homeopathic medicine. So here, research, generally speaking, research is nothing but learning new facts, testing new idea. This is done by collecting data, analyzing it, interpreting the data, and we try to justify the fact which we want to establish. So it is always focused and objective oriented. The basic research is always to gain more knowledge, which we get from our education. But once we go to the applied research, we try to identify a particular problem, research problem, and then we try to design a methodology through which we can come to a conclusion about our research question. That is, we generate a idea and generate a question and try to prove it or disprove it by doing a systematic, that is review of literature and also a study. Then characteristics of research. It is always a research is a clear statement of problem. It can be a positive and negative way, but in all research, one thing should be clearly noted that if the data which we collect should be new, and we should be a way that those data, which is called as variable in scientific terms, should be focused to the question which is to be answered. That is research question. So why this research is very important now? So to there is to give an there is an answer to so many public health problems which we have seen now emerging domestic and also health issues and international health problem. We have to do research and we have to do a cost effective and effective method of treatment better than the previous one. So that is the aim for doing conducting research in that is better and better research. So lot of factors which influence the research, which requires the further researches. Social factors are there, economic factors are there. See, previous treatment will be very costly, which cannot be affordable. So what happens? You have to do an economic method of treatment. There could be a political method, the reason why we are doing a research, ethnic reason, environmental reason. Now the environmental reason is we are coming across the infectious disease. So we have to do a research to overcome this infectious disease. So there can be genetic factors. We see in the case of NCDs, non-communicable diseases like diabetes mellitus, thyroid issues. There is a lot of research going on because these are genetical factors, and there is only supplementary drugs in allopathic or modern science. But in homeopathy, there is a lot of research going on. and successful also where thyroid issues are treated. That is cancer is treated, and also diabetes is much. There is a lot of answers, a lot of better outcomes are coming due to a systematic research in that is in non-communicable diseases also. So consequently, every that is public health practitioners and researchers recognize that there is a need of understanding the problems in the community, and to address the public health issues, we have to undergo serious and effective interventional studies. So this particular research study, any research study, should be always focused to society rather than individual. It is focused to society, and society-based research is actually the best recognized, because that is the outcome which we require from the for any science. Any science should answer to the society's needs, and that is called as the relevance of a research. So objectives of every research is testing new facts or important facts, that is to analyze or an event, process or phenomenon. Why I'm telling all these things that because when COVID came, we have to test many things that whether this particular mask is effective. So there or the hand wash is effective or the hand rub is effective. Watch what type of chemicals the disinfectant could be used. So all this were tested. So that comes as the first objective, verifying and testing facts. Second thing I can tell you, that is to analyze an event or process. That is, in many of the prospective studies, you can see the studies were done to evaluate the phenomenon of healing or treatment process that was studied or the identified in the case of COVID also, because what was the symptoms and how does it that is how does it cure? How is the first symptoms that is overcome, and the second how does the what are the post COVID symptoms? All were systematically studied by prospective studies, and new that is new scientific tools were also developed to test the concepts and theories and to solve and understand scientific and non-scientific problems also. And we can also say that this is also required for everyday life to improve our day-to-day life. So there are several types of research. Importantly, two types of research are there: observational and experimental research. Among observational research, we don't give any intervention in observational research. For example, we let the in a situation we keep observing what happens next. So that is actually an observational. There is no intervention or there is no treatment, introduction of no treatment in observational research. But whereas in experimental research, we give controlled environment, we give medicines or intervention or counseling and see what are the changes. So that comes as the experimental research studies. In observational studies, there is case control studies, case series studies, cross-sectional studies, cohort studies, and these are, I think I can go into details in further. In experimental studies, there are self-control studies, external control studies, controlled trials, and uncontrolled trials. As you all know, the current status of homeopathy is massive because it is the second largest medical practice, but still there is problems. But public acceptance is large, but they are not aware about the different medicines present. Still, when we talk about medicines, people ask, see, you give only pills to us. Is that same medicine or different? So people are unaware about the different the medical colloquium present inside homeopathy. This awareness is very important. As you all know, although we have a lot of attention towards homeopathy, the awareness about the drugs, the awareness about the researches is not completely available in the public. So public need to get knowledge, and with simple publication, with case studies, with the happenings, what is happening in by giving preventive medicine, what happened in this particular area. Such write-ups in journals and art in dailies would help to go into the go amidst the public and give awareness to them. And another important thing which I want to say is there is a lot of confusion in the mind of people that whether it is right, homeopathic medicine is right choice for the chronic diseases or that. This is again a problem which we face, the credibility in the in giving clinical evidence in homeopathy. And then this, let us go to the sign, which the main part which I want to deal with is, see, when doing a research, we have to be very careful in studying the design of research. We have a very important website in that is called as Equator, that is enhancing the quality and transparency of health research. Equator Network is the most widely accepted. Even in Indian Journal for Research in Homeopathy, published by CCRH, follows the same guidelines. Equator Network. E means enhancing, Q, U, quality, A is and transparency. T means transparency, O of R is research. So Equator guidelines is actually the best accepted and reputed guideline which gives idea how to conduct a research in homeopathy. Now going to the, I can tell you this, there is reporting guidelines. I think you can see my cursor moving. Reporting guidelines for main study types. There is randomized trials, observational studies, systematic reviews, study protocols, diagnostic and prognostic studies, case reports, clinical practice guidelines, qualitative research, animal preclinical research or studies, quality improvement studies, economic evaluation. So among this, the most important studies which we focus is in the left side, randomized trial, observational studies, systematic reviews, study protocols, diagnostic and prognostic studies, case reports, homeopathic clinical case. So randomized trial, as you all know, a randomized clinical trial is the golden standard in research. That is, it has a, it's a wide acceptability because we have randomization in that, control environment in that, and moreover, it is a trial because there is two groups in that. In any study, there will be two groups. One will be the placebo, another will be the medicine group. Or there can be one medicine group which is newly introduced and old medicine group which will be conventionally used. So randomized clinical trial is the most accepted one. Effectiveness of treatment can also be established because we include a placebo group in this particular study design. So this particular design follows a method called as consort. So consort is a short form about the unique scientific design of randomized trial. Next is about observational studies. Observational studies, as I told you, there is no particular intervention in this particular study. That is, this particular study will be conducted as normal. The disease will be exposed and we'll be watching what happens next. The sequential process will be completely observed and that will be documented. So that follows a method called a strobe. These strobe, consort, prisma, and spirit, prisma, p, all the forms, short forms, given in caps, is actually the abbreviation of methodology, which I'll be explaining you now. So here you can see case report. Case reports follow a method called as CARE, and we have got a homeopathy clinical case method, which is again evaluated and that is formulated or improved by CCRH, which is designed now and is called as home care. In 2018, they did a research to evaluate and validate the method of homeopathic case study, and that is called as home care. And they published a paper on 2019, and I may give you a complete data about that. So, so this particular www.equator.net.org is actually the extension for which you can note it down or type it in the Google and go into the page. As soon as we go to the page, we can see that we can select a type of study. We can get into that, follow the checklist and flow diagrams and do that. Let us see one. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. So We can go to the equator guidelines. Equator guidelines for reporting. Here comes, we have the main page. As I told you, we have got the randomized trial. We can see here, randomized trial. Go to this spot and just click it. We can see there is two important things, consort checklist and also consort flow diagram. So consort checklist, when you click, we can see there is lot of, there is important things which should be kept in mind while doing this research. A Word page may open, which will have all the points relevant to any researcher to do their project. This will help in their, this will guide in their research. So title and abstract, what is the important thing in the title to be mentioned? Structure, there is summary of trial design, method, results, that should be given in the title. Then what is to be included in the scientific background and what should be there in the objectives. Then you have to include the method where there is design. Then who are the participants? What are the intervention we use? How will be the outcomes measured? What is the primary outcome? Based upon the objective, we have designed the primary outcome and a secondary outcome. And also, what is the sample size required? And we can also go to the randomization, how we randomize the patient into, there is placebo and also test group, that is control and the test group, case group. Okay, so this is allocation method. Then how is it numbered? Then how is the mechanism going on? What is the period of it? How do we blind it? Statistical method which to be used. So all the points are mentioned. What are the important requisites in the result part? What are the important requisites to be used in the methodology? Everything is given in this. There is a checklist. So if you follow the checklist, then there won't be any queries when you write a research paper. Similarly, I can also show you one more important thing which will really guide us. That is consort flow diagram. So consort flow diagram is actually a systematic method of telling you what to be done first and what to be done next. So in consort, the first step will be the enrollment. That is the patient who will be having the particular condition of our choice is enrolled in our study. So based upon the study the design, we will be fixing what is the number of patients to be enrolled. So once they are enrolled, based upon the exclusion criteria and also the inclusion criteria, we will select them. And in exclusion criteria, we may mention how many people were excluded and what was the reason. So first point is not meeting the inclusion criteria. That is, they are not fit into the, out of the total people N, how many people were excluded and what is the need for that. So first will be they are not meeting the inclusion criteria. Second will be they are not willing to participate in the research program, or they didn't give the consent to be the part of the research. Another thing, some other reason for them. For example, they had a particular surgery, or they had a particular factor which we think will confound in our research study. So that could be one of the reason why. And the next step will be randomization. There we will be randomizing.
Excuse me, madam. I think the slides are not moved. Still, the slide is extension of guideline page. It is still there.
Oh,
extension
okay.
for guideline page.
So I'll share.
Can you just put it in full presentation mode?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Actually, I have opened a Word page. Can you see that?
No, that I am not able to see it. Still in your presentation mode.
What about now, sir? How is it now?
Yeah, now it is visible.
Yes, ma'am. Now
okay, sir. So I'll tell one again. The flow diagram will tell you what to be done first and what to be done next. So first will be eligibility. Based upon the eligibility criteria, we will be fixing the people to be enrolled in the study. And based upon that, we will be excluding how many people will be excluded. That should be mentioned here. Why they are mentioned, that will be coming as a point, not meeting the inclusion criteria. How many of them were not meeting the inclusion criteria? and how many of them told that they are not willing to participate in the study. That could be mentioned here at the end. Another reason, for example, they were having some issues with the, or they had some hypersensitivity, or they are not fitting to the criteria. So that have to be mentioned here. So the three important points could be listed out, telling why these people were out of, maybe out of 200, we have excluded 20. So out of 20, 10 maybe they are not meeting the inclusion criteria. Two will be not, that is not willing to participate. And another 8, what is the reason? The main reason could be told, not all the reason, only the main reason could be mentioned. So because exclusion criteria could not be made a long list, so making it precise. Then next we can go to the randomization. The number of people for randomization can be fixed here. Then there is so many techniques for randomization. The most commonly followed randomization method is randomized table number. We have got a randomized table number which is quite available in the internet. By seeing that, we can select any first 2 digit or last 2 digit, and as a series we can select, if it is 26, then we can, if you have only one, from 1 to 10, 2 plus 6 can be done. If it is 26, last number is 26, we can plus it. Either we can select 6th person, or we can plus 2 plus 6 as 8, or we can select the 8%. Any one method could be used. So 6th person, then the randomized number method is easy, and we get proper that is the allotment of people from case and also control group. So that can be done by, first method is randomized table method. Second method is by lottery method, which can be also used. We can pick any one number from the lottery, and that particular, maybe you are having 260 patients, and we can pick a lot from the lottery, and that particular number is allotted in the group 1. Then next number will be allotted to group 2. Likewise, the allocation of the people among groups can be also done. Then after, once they are allocated among the groups, we can tell what type of intervention are they going to receive, whether they are going to receive the homeopathic intervention of one particular remedy. Maybe you are coding it and saying it is a remedy R5 or R56 or A2, something like that. Because here the most important part is, in clinical trial we try to blind the medicine also. We don't give it is not an open label. It is it's a blinded procedure that is done to prevent bias. So if you want to do the best of it, then we have to give codes to the medicine. Both placebo can be coded, and also the medicine could be coded. Or the medicine 1 can be coded, medicine 2 can be coded. So the medicine, group can be first allotted, and the medicines can be written here. What is the medicine? What is the dosage? How many times? All the details could be mentioned in the column that is in this box. Similarly, the second box will be telling you what is given in the group 2. Similarly, next column will be telling what is, how many, the follow-up. Who are the people who have lost the follow-up and who have discontinued the intervention. That can be given as the reason. And similarly here also. And here you can mention how many months of follow-up, that is how many weeks or how many months of follow-up is required. Next column will tell you the analyze, how many, after what period you are going to analyze the data. Okay, so this if you're doing a research in diabetes mellitus, we can either do a value, we can take the data from fasting blood glucose level, or we can take the HbA1c value. So at 3rd month or at 6 months, we can take the value and analyze it, or complete the whole study by 1 year and compare and give the results. So likewise, we can, in this way, we can effectively do a research by proper, this is a proper a blueprint of research which we can follow, and also overcome the hurdles of publication. So this all is mainly meant to help you to publish your data. So let us go back to my presentation. I've given a short introduction how to utilize the equated reporting guidelines for publishing a paper. So once you go, just how now I told you, go to the guideline page, select a type of study, follow the, similarly you have got a checklist and flow diagram for all the studies which I mentioned you. Okay, so select the type of study, follow the checklist and flow diagram. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
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 Not put in the presentation mode. Okay. So
Yeah.
thus we can prepare a flawless research design which will be fit for publication in an indexed journal. So we can overcome the problem of publication through this method. Once we in publication, the most my experience is once we publish, we face so many questions in publishing. That is, how did you randomize it? I tried to publish a paper in IJRH, and it was I got nearly 80 to 85 questions from the there is a editor, and that was mainly all these points. And I consulted many people, many researchers who are publishing, and they gave me the option of opting this particular checklist, following this checklist while doing any research. And or this checklist, if you follow this checklist, we can answer all the questions from the editors and also reviewers. There's no doubt in that, because with out of this, if there is any question, then that is a new policy which have to be changed in the reporting guidelines itself, sir. So this guidelines is actually followed by most of the publications. So need not worry if you follow the same method. So next, I would like to give you an example from that is homeopathy, that is randomized clinical trial, which I told you just now. I'll give an example from homeopathy. So this is what I told you earlier. Randomized clinical trial is aimed to find out which treatment is the best method for fair comparison between existing treatment or newly identified treatment, or two or more treatment, or placebo and treatment, anything. So there is few RCTs published in, you can even see in the Google Scholar. Since 2020, we can see there are so many papers published. I've given 3 here. If you can see, similarly, we have got 144 papers published in homeopathy alone after 2020. So efficacy of homeopathic treatment for diabetic distal symmetric polyneuropathy, a multicentric randomized double-blind placebo-controlled trial. This is done by CCRH by Dr. Manchanda. Then homeopathic therapy in cervical spondylosis, in pain management, a randomized double-blind placebo-controlled trial done by, it is published in Indian Journal for Research in Homeopathy in October 2020. There is another important paper published by Chaturbush Naik, effects of predefined homeopathic medicine to mitigate adverse dermatological effects of radiotherapy and vomiting of chemotherapy in breast carcinoma. Randomized double-blind placebo-controlled pilot trial is done in a small number of patients. That's what it is called as a pilot trial in context of usual care. It is in usual care, they have introduced the medicine and checked it. So it is a small observatory level study, which is prior to the large trial. It is published in Indian Journal for Homeopathy in July 2020. So these are the few papers just published in 2020 and under the clinical design RCT. So this is one of the paper which is based upon the COVID. So what are the standard operative procedure to derive homeopathic prophylaxis in COVID-19 through prophylactic clinical trial, which is done and published in that is 2020 in March. So this is an example for RCT, and I've given a detailed clinical diagram about okay. So here I can tell you that that previously I've told you a pilot trial, no? That pilot trial is being mentioned here. So in preliminary screening, they have taken 144 patients. Can you see the flow diagram, sir?
Yes,
It's actually a small flow diagram.
yeah.
So I'll explain you that is in preliminary screening that is step, they have selected 144 patients just relate this particular flow diagram to the previously explained flow diagram in the checklist, sir, so that you can get an idea how this may relate how this is applied actually. So based upon the screen out N36, that is the 36 people were excluded from the study because of the age. First was age, because the age inclusion criteria was that is between 35 to 65, and here the age line crossed to 65. So 4 people were excluded. You can see the first point here, that is 4 people were excluded as their age crossed above 65. Second thing is, since they're unwilling, 32 people were also excluded. Then totally after the end, 36 people getting excluded, out of 144, remaining is one not age. And again, after screening, detailed screening for this particular study, this 20 people were excluded because of these things. That is, they had psychiatric illness, uncontrolled diabetes, uncontrolled hypertension. Already they are undergoing other homeopathic treatment for some other problems. So these people were excluded after detailed screening. So 108, 20 were excluded, 88 was the randomization. That we have got the number of sample sizes, 88. So now this 88 will be divided in two different methods. We can either divide into 1:1 ratio, or we can divide into 3:1 ratio. That is dividing them into 4 halves, 3 into the case group and also 1 into the control group. But the problem in that is, once you divide them in this 70:30 or 60:40 or 80:20, that type of group, what happens is the division of people among case and control is totally different. And the age group also differs. The type of gender may be different, type of seriousness of the status of cancer may be different. So what happened? We will not be able to completely establish the effectiveness of the homeopathic treatment since the n, that is number of sample size, is different. So what happens is the better idea is always to use, since we are doing in a cancer patient, there is the chance of bias, there is a chance of getting a wrong getting a wrong analysis. So we always try to opt 1:1. That is dividing them into equal group, 44 and 44. 88 people are divided into 44, which are there in the usual care plus homeopathy, and other is usual care plus. Usual care means what medicine they are using for their conventional treatment. That is usual care. Usual care plus homeopathic medicine, usual care plus placebo. Homeopathic medicine is individualized homeopathic medicine based upon symptomatology or individualization, they can do it. That is based upon the study design. And after that, they are followed up for 14 days, and there are again some dropouts. 4 people have been dropped out because of no improvement, because of aggravation, and also they could not be contacted because maybe they are sent back to the home. They are not able to be contacted. And the second group is 4 were dropped out because of again aggravation or worsening of condition, and again for not able to be contacted. So this is actually a absenteeism which is quite understood. It should be quite kept in mind in RCT. Is we have to always take some people in extra in advance, because there is always a chance of there is dropouts in the case of experimental trials, because in such cases we can maybe the patient may be misleaded or wrongly that is convinced that this may give you a wrong this may give you some other side effects or something like that, and that is actually overcome. This particular problem can affect your study design. So always take some 10% of people, 10% of sample in addition to the already calculated one. So after 14 days of follow-up, we can follow, that is again follow them completely, following after 14 days, then 3 months, and the data, there is pain management is analyzed. The main that is objective is to mitigate adverse dermatological effects. So the dermatological scales are there. The scales will be used and the scores will be taken, and that will be analyzed before. That is among 2 groups. A 30-30 design or more may help you with a t-test, which can be compared, which can compare the data in both the groups and give you a proper statistical significance. So here we have got a CTC score. After 7 days, the scores have improved, and the scores and also ratio has improved. 3.3 was the ratio, and conclusion is pre-identified homeopathic medicine appears superior to placebo, warranting further evaluation. So the study actually is a study prior to a large trial, where this study was done by a small population, and further they have the limitation of the study is lesser sample size. Okay, this is next is study design, systematic review, which is very easily done study. It's not a field study. It is a paper-oriented, literature-based study. It is also advanced study. That actually it is called as a preparatory study before you do a PhD or before you do a actual trial. Systematic review will try to give a detailed notion about what is happening in the particular topic or in the particular type of studies and what is happening in the homeopathic research field. That will be understood once you do a systematic review. So homeopathic drug proving is the most significant part of the research study. That is, it's actually a randomized clinical trial. So this very interesting paper I have shared you. When I searched for this paper, I got nearly 336 randomized, systematic review. It is done in 2020, 2021. So there is a lot of research is going on. And one more thing I wish to share now is when doing a small that is surfing in Google, I could understand that than 2018-19, in 2020, 60% of increase in research was carried out in clinical research. And even many feel like Mendele, Siebert, Springer, they have given the free access to their websites so that they can download so many papers or they can update their knowledge in COVID treatment. So that was the best part in 2020, that knowledge, there was doubling of knowledge that is in 2020 because of this need for research, need for new finding, need for essentiality in finding out a way of rescue from this massive corona. So homeopathic drug proving research, that study was done for a period 1945 to 2018. So that was done by CCRH. Again, clinical trial for urological disease that is done by Chaturbhuj Naik under the leadership of Dr. Chaturbhuj Naik. And again, it is a CCRH work. It is published in Complementary and Integrative Medicine. Then evidence for efficacy of ultra-diluted homeopathic medicine, the management of influenza-like illness. It is again a study based upon the particular situation, published in September 2020. And I would like to share the most significant and is a very interesting drug proving research and systematic review done between the year 1945 to 2018. Okay, so first part of the study is actually they are telling that a systematic review on homeopathic pathogenetic trial or drug proving was done between the year 1945 to 1995. It is published in 2017, so 2007, and the result of that particular systematic review was it showed it didn't maybe because of the flaw in the study design, he didn't give any significant. It just showed that homeopathic research was not significant. It was not better than placebo. So that created a lot of emotional distress among the practitioners and researchers, and they tried to do a detailed study from 1996 to 2018 drug proving. So that was wonderfully done. And let us see what is the flaw in that previous the systematic review. A systematic review of homeopathic pathogenetic trial from 1945 to 1995 has been published, in which it is reported that that is human pathogenic trial or HPT was found suffering from design flaws, heterogeneity, and low methodological quality. That is flaws in research design. What points I have mentioned in the design, maybe that points have not been followed in the previous design. Heterogeneity because the population included in the study may be of different age group, maybe different economic status or different genetic factors. So many, the group should be homogeneous. The age group should be same. Their health status should be same when you do a research in a particular population. Then we can get a homogeneity, and that actually enhances the quality of research, uniformity in result and all. So heterogeneity among these samples has also affected the research. And also low methodology quality was also one of the factors which affected the previous study. So, and whether homeopathic medicine in high dilution can provoke effects in healthy volunteers remain inconclusive. Since then, more HPTs has been published across the globe. therein need to evaluate the collective outcome of these studies in terms of methodology and quality of information generated and to make further recommendation in undertaking similar studies. And a review and was published during 1996 to 2018, and two institutions which came into light was CRH, which was under Ministry of Ayush, and Royal London Hospital of Integrative Medicine. They had a collaboration and they did a systematic review and meta-analysis for 2 decades, say 1996 to 2006 and 2006 to 2018. And they also kept in mind to overcome the heterogeneity, and the previously done issues was also counted, and they found that the review was fine. The trials were sought by manual research. Important, well, how the systematic review is done. The systematic review is done by search of previous articles and journals based upon the particular topic. For example, if you want to search a trial, clinical trial in homeopathy, if I want to search systematic review on homeopathic research, I may type what is systematic review in homeopathic research. That is the search of keywords for searching. So similarly, they have searched for books, research bulletins, journals, electronic data, and also they have searched PubMed, Science Direct, Cochrane database, Virtual Health Library, Lilacs, Biomed Central, Billy Online Library, and also Caro Access. And they have also see the registries from clinical trial, ISRTCN, and CTRI registration. And they have taken one particular database, that is Core Home, that's which I told you, case homeopathic case method. And search term was given as homeopathic pathogenetic trial, which was the one keyword which is searched, and second was homeopathic drug proving, which is the second key term which is used for searching in all this particular there is a type of data. So in English, strict restriction was done in English alone. No languages were selected. Inclusion and criteria are mentioned here. All the written information for HPT in English language from 1996 to 2018 in public domain were taken. Prospective double-blind random, that is all the RCTs were taken, which included the diluted and potentized homeopathic medicine. Which the method should be non-randomized and single-blinded approach were also taken. Crossover design were also included. Whereas exclusion, they didn't take about mind, that is the dream provings, meditation provings. Then they didn't take about the crude preparation, solution, powders were not included. They also excluded the data which is not understandable on not that is applicable. That was also rejected, and any publication before and after the study period were also left. Proceedings from post proceedings like posters, reports from homeopathic meetings like congresses, seminars, symposium, workshops were also not taken. Peer-reviewed, that is articles from non-peer-reviewed websites were also not taken. Then repeated publications of same studies were also rejected. And this is the list of database they have taken. So this is actually why I'm giving you a detailed note of it. Is systematic review is actually an understanding, a descriptive understanding about any condition. It gives what has happened and what is happening and what has been done so far. That idea we can get very well, and that is actually a value added, adding to our existing knowledge. And many of us may not visit. So some website which is mentioned here, for example, CTRI, Core Home, these are rarely that is visited by us. I'm talking about a few people and myself also. But actually, this electronic database have to be understood. This will give you a complete understanding about what type of databases could be searched while doing a systematic review. So I hope you got an idea about this. Maybe I can share you this particular that is presentation for further use. And it is also there. You can very well search in the Google Scholar and get this paper also. So they've also, among this, they have taken few drugs also. What drugs have been taken in pathogen trial were also taken. Among that, 215 drugs were proven. That was also found. That is the outcome of this research. 216 drugs were proved between the year 1996 to 2018. And all that was found, and the report was alphabetically arranged. From Macalifa indica, it is 2-Cinchum aceticum, it was done. Carica papaya, then silver crystals and Staphylococcinum, everything was done within this period. So systematic review among 74 peer-reviewed, this is the final conclusion of the study. Among 74 peer-reviewed research papers, the proving data of 74 drugs has been published between 1996 to 2018 in Prisma format. CCRH published 24 human pathogenic trial. Shah published 4 human pathogenic trial. That is Rajesh Shah, based upon the notes, and the rest were from different countries, proving of calcemia, glauca, and several other medicines were done between this period. So this was the Prisma flowchart of that particular study. We can very well see what are the database articles which was used between that. I've explained you all this, what are the records they have taken. Then what was excluded, that is redundant entries and irrelevant records, which included 2,263 records were excluded. And among that, totally 403 were the substantial or relevant records which have been taken. Then again, they have excluded 256 because they were theoretical and methodological papers, commentaries, conference reports, guidelines, protocols, reviews, reprints, other type of data, private reports, etc. And at the end, out of 403, 253 was excluded, and they have got 147 non-repeated experimental records of human drug proving on 214 drugs. And they, among that 74 was the peer-reviewed, and 73 were non-peer-reviewed drugs. And thus we have come to the conclusion that 74, that is the peer-reviewed records were there for 74 drugs. So that is the most standard forms of the records or systematic reviews which we can rely upon. And 73 non-peer reviewed records for 139 drugs are also present. So better peer-reviewed data could make the study more relevant. Maybe that drugs could be more, the database could be improved by publishing in a peer-reviewed journals. So conclusion of the study is this step of scoping review will help in identification and also understanding the drug proving and also drug human pathogenic trial conducted between different period time, and also understand the terms of study design, intervention, what type of volunteers are used, and overall result. Despite a clear trend of gradually improving quality in terms of adapted study design, still there is so many flaws in the study planning, executing of study, and also reporting. So usually, this type of, sir, sorry to interrupt, sir. What is the time for our program to get wind up?
Yes, you can proceed. No problem.
No problem. Okay, sir. Okay. So there is 147 accepted records are the first for data recovery and assessing and analyzing the possibility of conducting systematic review and meta-analysis, which could be published in other languages. And if that languages has been translated, that could be also a valid asset to review and study. And the last thing which I want to discuss with you is home care, that is homeopathy clinical case database. So home care is actually a well-designed method for presenting the case reports in in a systematic manner. So Biomed Central launched its clinical database on December 10, 2012. Need for this is due to lack of standardized reporting in homeopathic clinical practice, lack of well-structured recording format, paucity of documented clinical cases, and lack of evidence pyramid which can give an insight into the prescription patterns of Indian homeopathic doctors. So this was the need why this particular methodology was introduced for improving the quality of that is case taking and case reporting in homeopathic among homeopathic practitioners. So aim was resource aimed at providing clinicians, researchers, medical students, patients, regulators, and policymakers a starting place to explore content and identify treatment trends, morbidity patterns, improvements in quality of life, assessing cure rates of common and rare clinical conditions based upon ICD-10 and now ICD-11 also using homeopathic intervention. So how this is to given proper guidance and focus to the people. There is not only the primary, usually the improvement in the scores of disease condition was actually considered as the major outcome of a disease. But improvement in the quality of life was that was an add-on which was given through this home care. So as a secondary objective, we can include this add-on that is improving the quality of life, which could be a secondary objective to achieve in any study design. Okay, so data sources, any registered homeopathic medical practitioner can comply to the standard laid down the pre-structured case recording format. And this is done by a registration also. So I just give an idea about it. So it is an open access indexed one. So any user which is using this particular thing can follow the proper following database. They can fill the complete that is details, KYC, accepting affidavit and terms and condition, can give patient confidentiality agreement by giving patient consent form, accepting the guidelines for uploading, giving all the relevant methodology for uploading, registering the particular completing the registration process, and then submitting a paper. Then they have to wait for a prolonged review or a editorial review, which can be for 3 months or 6 months, or maybe if it is a very good paper, it could publish within 1 to 2 months. So waiting for that, completing it, and then publishing it, getting accepted by the database after a satisfactory review is a method of is the procedure to do a database submission by any person who is a registered homeopathic practitioner. So here we can, when you search in the Google text box, the particular disease condition or a particular author, it comes as. So search, there is no search limit. There is a lot of reports could be found in this particular thing. So now a long way to improve the homeopathic research. Last few things I would like to just recall in homeopathic research, which should help in uplifting the quality and also the scientificity and accessibility of homeopathy. Because I'm a very, I hope I'm a very good vision of homeopathy, because I'm a person was being benefited a lot by homeopathy. My institution, Sharada Krishna Homeopathic Medical College, is one of the prime institution because of the hard work of the people in the management and also people behind the screen. And this is only because they always try to achieve the best quality in teaching and also in giving the organization a better level by hard work, perseverance, etc. So this I would like to share with you, that is an organization level. Why we go behind this because of lack of critical thinking. We think that there is no need to improve. We have to critically intervene ourselves. We have to keep us improving, and we have to introduce a research-based teaching, which we have understood in a long course of time that just like giving a basic teaching, if you introduce a research-based understanding and teaching and the interactive process like group focus discussion, giving a case and then discussing about it and giving finding out the proper protocol, suggesting a grouping up different types of methods of treatment together and finding out the best of it. Likewise, when you introduce a research-based teaching, when you give appreciation to the teachers, when you give improve the quality of publications, that is, we try to publish in a very good journal by ourselves, then there comes the organizational improvement and also personal improvement in homeopathy. So when you go behind this, then it is difficult. Once every person counts. So if I try, if for 5 of us try, then the whole organization comes up. Similarly, more self-motivation should be there. And we have to realize that this is the right time. We are facing global threat. This is the right time when we take up the responsibility that we have to come up, we have to find out the staticity of homeopathy, like how you people, like in the promotion, like how this forum is doing. That will really help in the uplifting and also to prove the scientificity of homeopathy. So realities which we have to bother is need for evidence-based research, producing than doing hundreds of research. Reproducing 5 research and developing a good plan of research, which can be followed by worldwide, is the best method. Public acceptance and developing policies in favor of Ayush system, then these are the most important things which can help us. The lack of documentation is a very important part which we have to think about. Improvement of diagnosis of disease. We do not do proper number of diagnosis, which actually is very important in improving the quality of research and well publication. Then another important thing, which is this is ethical consideration during research. That is, although it is homeopathic research, ethical consideration has to be should be taken care of, because a clinical trial or medicines given, potency selection, everything requires definite clinical consideration, not to take up the patient as the important individual, and give complete respect, and also that is priority to them, giving them proper motivation, proper guidance, and proper support. Because when they respond well, we get proper research. So ethical consideration, I think, is the most important thing we ignore and we have to follow. And next is importantly, we have to do a toxicological studies, which is student. We try to do in a student level, but toxicological studies to in all medicines have to be done to understand whether there is an adverse side effect in medicine, whether there is a, chance of giving aggravation to the patient. That have to be done beforehand before doing a research study. And this is the hard fact which we have to understand. I have to, these are the threat actually. While those who could see homeopathy, the evidence of new era science have accepted homeopathy, at least research reasons and found encouraging research, but these are not many. We need much more research, much more reports, which will actually help in the upliftment of homeopathy. Homeopathy should not be defamed by any of our wrong studies and press releases. So we have to always that is never scare any people in Facebook or social media to defame them, or to that should be also taken care, because there's quite so many things happening in social media for last few 2 to 3 years. So this is, we think it's a small thing, but we have to keep them knowledge in our knowledge. So these are the SWOT analysis. That is, we have to understand our strength, weakness, and also opportunities. And once you do our SWOT analysis, we try to come up in our research. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I'm very happy that I'm facing such a great group of people. And I'm thankful to Dr. Venugopal sir and also the forum members who has who have been hearing this long lecture, maybe a little boring too, but in a very silent and also in a cooperated, supported manner. Thank you so much, sir, for this opportunity. I also wish that you accomplish all your goals and reach the best of things possible. Thank you.